engage training, more control, less impulse. So this is a course that will cover how trauma can impact the development of the brain and how we can increase resilience. So that course, Engage Training, More Control, Less Impulse, is at Tararua Reap, 15 Gordon Street, Dannevirke, from 7 till 9 in the evening, and the phone is 06 374 6565. Neil, I think we've covered some of the interesting things happening up north. Just to introduce you to our listeners, you've been working in Masterton most of your life, haven't you? And you've had a checkered history.
I'm not sure I'd call it checkered, but varied. I worked in the 70s at Steel and Ball, which some will remember as the music shop in town, selling instruments, sheet music, guitar strings, records. This is pre-CDs, of course.
Yeah.
In fact, cassettes really just came in while I was there.
Mm. And then you moved on.
I moved on. My wife and I had a year and a half in England, and when I came back, I worked for the Times Age for a few years as a proofreader.
Yeah.
In the days when newspapers employed people to find the mistakes.
Yeah. Is that when you met up with Steve Trotman?
No.
This is pre-tree Steve.
Yeah. I think Steve sort of was there in the same role, but after me.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Masterton Library.
Yeah.
The Borough Library it was then, and between the library and Wairarapa Archive, I worked for Masterton District Council for 31 years before I retired.
Good. And you're a songwriter. You were in a very famous Wairarapa band for many years, Wild Geese.
Wild Geese, yes. Yeah. And before Wild Geese in the 70s, I was in a band called Haystack, which was also a Wairarapa band, and we recorded an LP in 1977.
Yeah.
Which didn't make us rich and famous.
No.
But it was all self-composed music on that album. Yeah.
So. And you performed all over the Wairarapa and even further afield.
Mainly in the Wairarapa. The standard fare for bands in those days was social occasions, weddings, 21st, cabarets. We used to play at Solway Park as a dine and dance band. We did all those sorts of things. Yeah.
And you've written songs as well, haven't you?
I've written a few down the years. Yeah.
I happen to have one on the player here.
Okay. Yeah.
It's called Casino Stone off your latest Wild Geese album.
That's right.
Shall we have a listen?
Yep.
Yeah.
When first we went to Italy on the Mediterranean Sea, high hopes of sun and senoritas, wine and cypress tree. We hoped that Jerry would take his leave and retreat back to Germany. But we spent 2 years fighting him up the length of Italy. Chance to die. We cursed the cold, we cursed the mud, we cursed the tiger tank. The advance through Italy's mountain spine saw a thinning of our ranks. We were sent to take Casino and Benedict's ancient church. Laid waste the town, and the Kiwis met their match. No one mourned that deadly place when at last the abbey fell. We walked and rolled the trucks up north and paid the
Well, that's almost a jolly tune, Neil, isn't it?
I don't think our soldiers felt very jolly about it at the time.
No.
It really is just a bit of a story about the New Zealand division in Italy.
Yeah. No, it's a very nice song. And you've since written a book or edited a book from your father's diaries about his experience at North Africa and then Italy, or did it?
Well, he didn't fight in North Africa. By the time Dad got to North Africa, the fighting had finished there, but the New Zealand division were starting to prepare for their next job, whatever it was. And, of course, the men didn't know where they were going at that stage. They just knew they were going to be used somewhere in the Mediterranean or European theatres. But so Dad came in. He was part of the 10th reinforcement, and that built up the numbers in a lot of the units because from Alamein to Tripoli, they'd had no reinforcements at all. So most units were fairly under strength. Then the 10ths came along, 6,500 of them, and that got distributed through the various units of the army. And Dad at that stage became a member of the 6th Field Regiment, which field artillery using 25-pounders.
Yeah.
And then in October 43, the whole division moved to Italy to begin their campaign there.
So where did he train?
Well, Dad had gone into the army, attested, as they call it in the army, in the end of 1940. So the first thing he did was 3 months compulsory training, which was up in Wairarapa, which was just being developed at that stage. And after the 3 months training, he came back to Masterton because, of course, at this stage he was working at Hansel's. And he continued with weekly training at the drill hall through 1941. He was selected for NCO training and did that in Palmerston North late in 41. Then, of course, the Pacific War started, and his unit, which was the 2nd Ruahine Regiment, was immediately called into camp and sent to Wairarapa in December 41. Dad complained that they never got Christmas leave.
Yes.
Wairarapa was reasonably isolated, even more so in 1941. But in early 1942, the whole regiment came down to Solway Showgrounds. So they went into camp there, and then, of course, he was close to home because Masterton was his home.
Yeah. And there wouldn't have been very many people working at Hansel's, so he would have been quite a loss to the firm, being pulled away to go into the army.
Yeah, in the book I've got a photo of the staff at Hansel's in 1938, and there's Dad and about 9 young women, one of which was my mother, Jean, and that was the staff then, apart from obviously your grandfather. And I'm not quite sure who else was there, but this was basically the staff, so it was really quite small then.
A.G. Robinson.
Oh, right.
Was the chemist.
Yes, I remember
And he
him.
created the products.
Alec Robinson.
Yeah.
Yep, I remember him vaguely as a kid. Yeah.
So how has it been for you writing this story from your father's diaries, and how did you get started on it?
Well, I obviously knew about the diary, and in fact, in about the late 1990s, I said to Dad, would you type your diary up? Because it was handwritten in his fairly flourishing handwriting, and I said, we struggle a bit with that. So he typed it up, and that was that. Eventually, I think I put a copy of his typed manuscript into the archive because we were keen on collecting those things. And then a few years ago, I transcribed his typed version onto a computer, which meant I could sort of manipulate it more at that point. I still really hadn't thought about publishing it. I just thought it was I really wanted to go through, check the spelling of place names, check the spelling of people he mentioned, try and find out about some of the people he mentioned, because you know, he just has a name there. These days it's a lot easier to do these things with you know, a lot of these things now on the internet or in some sort of electronic form. But it was really only when COVID came along and I perhaps had time to think about all sorts of things that I thought, well, perhaps I could publish the diary and add to it by way of explanation, because of course it's this is a soldier writing and he uses lots of terms which are not really known to civilians, I suppose. So I thought there's some added value in explaining the military side of it.
Yeah, sure. So COVID comes along and it's your godsend for an opportunity.
I suppose it was. There was another thread to it, and that it had been announced that the New Zealand education system would emphasise more New Zealand history in the school curriculum. And I thought, well, a diary is a primary resource, and you know, I have the diary there. Wairarapa Archive had published a World War I diary 10 years ago of a Carterton soldier called Merv King, and I thought, well, that was again a primary resource which I explained and tried to augment. So I thought this would make a nice set in the sense that we have a World War I and a World War II diary in published form, and they might be quite useful tools in explaining New Zealand history.
So would you like to read us something from your book?
Yeah, I'll
What
read.
have you called the book?
Well, the book's called On the Move Again, because when you trace Dad's journey around Italy, it meant moving very frequently, sometimes not very far, but you know, there were very frequent moves, generally progressing from south to north, but not always. Often it went slightly east-west, or even backtracking a bit at times. Anyway, there's a little extract here, which is when Dad comes into Sowe Showgrounds in early 42. The first night we slept in the grandstand. The adjutant, Captain Jack Logan, a solicitor in Masterton who had taught me law subject at night school, grabbed me as soon as I arrived at Sowe and said, "You can type, can't you, Francis?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "I want you to type a roll." So while everyone was sorting themselves out, I had to sit at a typewriter, and at 8 o'clock at night I produced a roll of about 600 names. Officers were bringing in lists of who were arriving. Because I had no leave over Christmas, and because Jean and I had just got engaged before I left for camp, I asked for a chance to go home. He said, "No, there's no leave passes." So despite that, I walked out the front gate, went home, saw Jean, and had a bath. When I came back, the guard sergeant, who was Bill Nicol, said, "I'll warn you, Len, all the guards have been issued with live ammunition." All the vehicles were rounded up and parked in the oval at Sowe Showgrounds. I had to get round to the grandstand, crawling on my stomach most of the way to avoid those guards. Then he goes on about the conditions at Sowe. Facilities were shocking, but we accepted them. They had showers in the sheep pen. The shower consisted of an old-fashioned round tobacco tin that put a few holes in them, and then they were soldered onto pipes. There were about 6 of them, and that showered the whole Ruahinis, between 600 and 800 troops.
Whoa!
So it was no holiday camp for sure.
So was the showgrounds the grandstand, the same as it is now?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And they were living underneath in the bottom.
Well, no, I mean the soldiers slept on the benches in the grandstand initially. I suspect there were not enough tents there. The officers had their mess under the grandstand, and that's actually where we're going to do the book launch on Saturday.
Yes, golly, tell us about the book launch. Well, what's happening? What have you got planned?
Well, our plan is we're incorporating in the book launch into the normal farmers market. And so in a room just beyond the farmers market, we'll do the launch there at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me when we came to think about these things that Solway was the obvious place, because Dad went into camp there, and the grandstand which he slept in, and then possibly had access to other parts of it, that was there at the time. So and the sheep pens are probably still there too, actually, although without the showers, I suspect.
Yes.
So we just thought that was the obvious place. I've asked a Wellington military historian, Peter Cook, to launch the book, because Peter has written extensively on particularly artillery in the New Zealand forces, and it seemed to me the appropriate person. We've got 3 members of the Army coming down from Linton to be present, and they are in the last artillery unit in the New Zealand Army. So I thought it was important to sort of have them there to emphasise the link between the wartime field regiments and the modern Army artillery unit.
Sure. And has anybody helped you edit the book?
Yes, as with my previous 5 books, the books have been published by Wairarapa Archive and Fraser Books. And Fraser Books is Ian and Diane Grant, and as usual, Diane has been the main editor of the book. And so we work together, and Anne Taylor, who was from Wairarapa but now in Wellington, she has designed the book, and I've worked with her to place the 100-odd photos and that sort of thing into the book. So it's as with these books, it's quite a combined effort. And then it's been printed locally by Printcraft.
So did you have to cull a bit out of it from your first draft? How many pages did you get to?
The book's 155 pages. I haven't culled any of the diary. I wanted the diary in as it was, but what I've done is add explanations to some of the things Dad talks about, because they're not obvious to perhaps non-military people. I've added a couple of essays explaining what the New Zealand Division was doing in Italy. There's an essay there on the 25-pounder, which equipped the New Zealand Division, and that's where Dad spent his working life, if one could put it that way. There's a map in there showing the journey that he made in Italy over the 30 months almost he was there. Not all the fighting didn't go on all that time. The last 6 months of the war, or the last 6 months of his time there, the war was over. So there was all sorts of things the troops got up to. They went on leave. Dad was also studying accountancy while he was over there. And in fact, he completed the last exams for his degree. He actually did in Italy.
So when he came back from the war,
he went back.
How was he? Did he write much about how it was sort of reintegrating into normal society? And
no, I mean, his diary ends the day he sails into Wellington to reunite with his wife Jean. But he certainly talked about it. My dad was not one of the silent soldiers. He certainly talked about the war with myself and my younger brother, because we were both interested in military things. So, we were lucky to have a father who spoke quite openly. I mean, he certainly talks in his diary of being pretty frightened at times. And even, I think a bit depressed at times. But he didn't, to me, appear to suffer any sort of really traumatic downside. He was quite deaf in one ear from working on 25-pounders. But apart from that, he led a long productive life, and I don't think he didn't have good memories always of what he did, what he was doing in the war. But I don't think it dwelt on him too heavily.
He could leave it behind.
He could. He did. In about 1995, I said to him, "Would you like to go back to Italy? I'll go with you if you like, if you wanted to go back." But no, he said, particularly casino, he didn't have good memories of that part of the fighting, so he didn't want to do that.
Neil, thanks very much for coming in and talking to us, and I hope the book launch goes exceptionally well. I'm sure you'll have a wonderful morning, and
well, we certainly hope so.
It hopefully will be very, very well received, and I hope you do well with the sales afterwards. Is it going to be available in Masterton?
Yes. I mean, Wairarapa Archive, we always sell our own books, but also it will be in local bookshops.
Very good. Well, congratulations on your efforts, and also to your collaborators, Ian and Di, and I wish you well on Saturday. We're going to go out with, out from this section of the program with a Neil Warboys song titled Live Your Life. This is Neil with the Real Time Liners.
Thanks, Rob. I'll leave you with a couple of those, which is really...
when you're trying to please the ones who count, Well, I never thought I could make a difference. Cause I was just a cog in the very big machine of my life. But now I understand, if you put it in, you get it back. Something that you take for granted, Wake up every morning, you wake up every morning and it's there. So live your life, live your life as only you can. Cause it's all about enjoyment. And love the ones you're with and take care. Well, it's been a while since I tried to make a decision. way I live and about the things that I do to myself. That's right. And nothing lasts forever, so make the most of what you're doing now. Yeah. Nothing lasts forever, so make the most of the life that you're leading now. Yeah, 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 yeah. Nothing lasts forever, baby, so make the most of the life you're living now. That's right. That's right. 'Cause nothing lasts forever, baby, so make the most of what you're doing now. Yeah, 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 yeah. Nothing lasts forever, baby, so make the most of what you're doing now. Make the most of what you're doing now. Nothing lasts forever, baby. Nothing lasts forever now. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. It's time to take stock. It's time to take stock and live your life now. No more running around, no. Yeah. Make the most of what you're doing. Make the most of the life you're living. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm gonna live my life now. Yes, I'm gonna live my life. Oh, yeah. Whoa, 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 yeah. Never thought I could make my friend, but I'm gonna live my life now, 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 now. Nothing lasts forever, baby, so make the most of the life that you're leading now.
Mr. Neil Warboys on vocals and harmonica with Bill Woods on slide guitar. That's the Real Timeliners, one of Neil's songs from an album they recorded in 2008, Someday Soon. And it's a wonderful sentiment. Live my life now. Information, folks. Let me just quickly get you up to date with some of the things that are going on in the next week. At Wairarapa College, Olive Jr. is still on stage tonight, this afternoon actually, 2 till 3:20, tonight 7 till 8, and tomorrow night, Friday the 23rd, 2 till 3:20, so that's an afternoon show. It's a wonderful musical, perfect school holiday entertainment, and the young folk from Wairarapa College do a great job in their presentation of Oliver Jr. If you want to become a belly dancer, I talk about the belly dancers in Featherston occasionally. This is Belly Dance for Beginners with Antonia at the Featherston Community Centre on Wakefield Street in Featherston. That's tonight from 6:30 to 7:30, and it's every Thursday night. So if you miss tonight, it's a bit short notice. Think of getting there next week. Belly dancing for beginners, and it's not all about showing your belly. I think it pretty much is all about women dancing, but there's lots of moves you learn, and I think there's work with veils and colourful flowing dresses, and it's a lot of fun. There's also a spontaneous dance class with the subtitle Conscious Dance at the Featherston Community Centre on Friday, the 23rd, from 6:30 till 8. It's a way to express ourselves through movement. You are there to find your own dance, as if no one is watching. Spontaneous dance follows an old tradition of conscious dance, or uses the dance to explore our inner selves. The facilitator holds a space for you to explore how you feel on the day and how your body wants to move. There is no wrong movement, so there is no space for judgment or criticism at the class. We dedicate our time to get grounded in our body, to relax the mind, and practice being present within ourselves. So if that's your number, Pavla Miller is organising that, and the email to connect with Pavla is lowercase spontaneousdancenz@gmail.com, and there is a Facebook page, and you can find all the details on the Featherston Community Centre website. It's Craft Day on Tuesday at Rewa Station on the Rewa Road at Tanui. This is a wonderful farm environment. They open it up to show their crafts, and I think they even teach some crafts from 10 in the morning on Tuesday the 27th till 3 in the afternoon. The invitation is to bring your knitting, crochet or spinning along to our monthly craft open day. Have a go at one of our spinning wheels or use the needles felting machine in action. Bring some lunch, stay a while. Tea and coffee are provided. One more announcement and then we're going to go to another song. This is about Star Safari at Stonehenge, Aotearoa. Tomorrow night, Friday the 23rd, from 8:30. By then it will be very dark and hopefully a clear night sky. So it's a cosmic tour of the night sky with photos by Milky Way, Kiwi and Jet Productions. You are the centre of the universe, and if anyone says otherwise, then send them over to us to explain why that is. From here, discover what's epic in the night sky. See with your own eyes, back in time. Visit astonishing places in our galaxy. And maybe, just maybe, see an alien pointing their green laser back at you. If you do, please let us know, ASAP. So there's a family deal. All school students 15 and under and smaller kids are free because no kid should pay for inspiration. Out of respect for our customers, we do need to make sure they are supervised, so please check our terms and conditions. And there's a website which is https://terms-and-conditions-night-tours/. Just look up Stonehenge, Aotearoa, and I'm sure you'll find something. When the sky is clear, even partially clear, we start with the telescope viewing. We don't want you to miss a thing from our beautiful dark night sky of the heavenly Wairarapa. So that's on Friday, tomorrow, 23rd, 8:30 till 10, Saturday the 24th, 8:30 till 10, Friday next week, the 30th, and Saturday the 1st of May, that's 7:30 till 9, and then the following Friday, the 7th of May, 7:30 till 9. Adults are $16.38, and school students older than 16, $5.12. So get on over to Stonehenge, Aotearoa. If you haven't been there, it is a wonderful experience. And Kay and Richard look after you very well. We're going to hear from Niels Gedge off an album of his titled Southern Land. And this is an introduction to my respectful memories of music at the Tin Hut, because Niels played there several times. Mostly he's a singer, guitarist, doing original songs, and sometimes he collaborates with other musicians. On this album, we're picking track 4, which is My Father's People, and he has Marion Carter and Amanda O'Connor on pump organ and Helen Dorothy. So here's My Father's People.
My father's people cleared a forest, drained all the swamps, broke in the farms by the old Taupo Road. We baled in summer, fed out in winter, hand-fed the calves. Sundays down at the hall, Mrs. Mac played the sweet by and by, and old Pop Finley was still waiting on the lawn
to lift him up to his home
in the sky. Time came, we moved to the city, packed a big truck, drove over the hill. But deep down inside, we were sons of the forest. Guess in my heart I'm living there still. Mrs. Mac, hair in a bun, upright as her old piano. I hear her daughter is living in Sydney. Last week her grandson emailed from Rio. Those barefoot days, the shadows now, that walk so short in the high noon garden. But later today, I swear they did lengthen as the sun was setting west of Eden. There's a place I go, you can't map it on Google. Place I go, you can't get there by car. Place I go, might find my brother. And the place I go, it's a place in my heart. Sunday down at the home, Mrs. Mac played the sweet by and by, and old Pop Finley was still waiting on the lawn
to lift him up to his home
in the sky.
To lift him up to his home
in the sky.
My Father's People, Neil Gedge with Amanda Connor and Helen Carter on backup vocals from his album Southern Land. Yes, it was sad when the Tin Hut closed, and I'm going to play a song at the end of this session. Delaney Davidson and Marlon Williams came there at least twice, and Delaney came at least twice on his own. So we're going to hear a song from them after I've given you a couple more announcements, and that'll be it for this week. So, Julie Lamb Outfit with the Barmy Jammers Tour are coming to Featherston to the Brack and Bow Bar at the Royal on Friday next week. Show starts at 7:30, and guess who's opening the show? My band Graphia. We've managed to persuade Kevin Bannister to play guitar with us, and Mark Bradley's coming over the hill to play drums. Keith and I will be in the middle there somewhere. Some original songs, and of course Julie has got an album out which she launched in October last year, and now they're just touring it for the first time. The album is titled How Humans Think. The Julie Lamb Outfit is an 8-piece rhythm and blues band, and they are great, full of life, full of invention, great music, and original songs. So look out for that Friday next week at Brackenbow in the Royal Hotel. I think it's a koha on the door. She originally was asking $10, and I think that's a reasonable amount to pay. But if you can't afford $10, you can come anyway and even offer a gold coin. You'll be allowed in the door. The meals there are great. The bar service is great. And the guys really look after us and have bent over backwards to accommodate Julie Lamb outfit at short notice, and we're very grateful for that. Just remember that in May is the start of the Featherston Booktown. It's the annual event where Featherston comes alive with readers and writers and book sales, new and second-hand. And that begins on Friday, May the 7th at the Featherston Anzac Hall on Bell Street, 6 till 9:30, a fish and chip supper. So put that on your schedule. I think Paro Amundsen from Ngāti Kohonunu and Rangatani will welcome everybody on the opening night with a blessing for the meal. And the chair of the Featherston Book Town, Peter Biggs, will be the MC for the night. So look out for that and the program that will follow. So before I hand you over to Marlon and Delaney, let me just tell you the Anzac Day services that are happening around the district on Sunday, the 25th, which is Anzac Day. That's this weekend. So in Martinborough, the parade will start at 5:45 outside Payne and Kershaw's on Jellicoe Street and move on to the square for a 5:55 service and laying of wreaths. Coffee and tea will be available in the supper room at the Waihinga Centre after the service. In Featherston, residents and visitors are invited to attend the 2021 Anzac Day Civic Service in Featherston. The service commences at 9 in the Anzac Hall, and the parade will form and proceed to the War Memorial. At the conclusion, refreshments will be served at the Garrison Cafe and Bar on Fox Street in Featherston. So that's 9:35 Anzac Hall, 9 o'clock Anzac Hall for the service, and the parade follows at 9:35. In Greytown, the Children's Anzac Day service will be held at the War Memorial. It's Citizens Anzac Day service will be held at the War Memorial in Kuratawhiti Street, commencing at 10:30 with the laying of wreaths. All medals will be worn. An announcement from the Greytown organisers. The parade will proceed to the South Wairarapa Working Men's Club for a civic service starting at 11. Lake Ferry, there's going to be a parade from 8:55 a.m. and will fall in at the Flagstaff at 9. In adverse weather conditions, the Lake Ferry Hotel is the alternative venue for laying of wreaths and the service. That's at the Flagstaff, Lake Ferry. Carterton, 11:15, the parade meets at the Carterton Event Centre on Holloway Street. 11 o'clock the parade starts. The route is Holloway Street, High Street, Memorial Square. At the end of the service, the parade leaves. The route is Memorial Square, High Street, Broadway, Carterton Memorial Club. So 11:15 to get together. Parade starts at 11. Masterton, the show begins at 5:30 with a march to the Cenotaph, arriving in time for the dawn service to start at 5 to 6. After the service, ex-service people march back to the Wairarapa Services Club via Park, Queen and Jackson Streets and across Chapel Street to the club. Tanui, the service is at 10:30 at the Tanui War Memorial, and there's going to be tea and refreshments in the hall afterwards, I'm sure. And then there's the Anzac Bridge service at Mount Bruce, just north of Pukaha, the bird wildlife sanctuary. That starts at 2 o'clock, and that's quite a special occasion. The bridge has been painted and restored with lots of effort from the local people, and there's a contingent from the army representing soldiers in active duty, and it's a wonderful service there from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Anzac Bridge, Mount Bruce. Well, folks, that's it, and we've got time for Delaney and Marlon.
You better get on your knees and pray. Get on, get on, get on, get on, get on your knees and pray. Get on, get on, get on, get on. You better get on your knees and pray.
Marlon and Delaney, a bit of acoustic gospel there, and a message to go out with. Get on your knees and pray, folks. And let's pray for a wonderful weekend and lovely Anzac Day and a lovely week ahead with lots of success and productive experience. And I wish you well. So this is Rob Maunsell from MMP signing out for this week.